Hey everyone, my name is Anthony Cofrancesco from brainyflights.com, and today I'm going to be talking about the Delta Gold SkyMiles card from American Express. Now, unlike a lot of airline cards, I actually think that the Delta Gold card has a pretty high value, a pretty good value proposition for the customer at the end of the day. So right from the start, the card has a $95 annual fee, which is pretty standard among airline credit cards. But like I said earlier, I think there's a lot of value to be had from paying that $95 annual fee. So the sign-up bonus is pretty good. It ranges between 30,000 points all the way up to 50,000 points. Now, I find that these different incentives, American Express will run in waves. So if you're currently looking around and you see the 30,000 point sign-up bonus, I would probably just say either wait or go and try to find a custom offer, because eventually it probably will get back up to that 50,000 point range. On top of the actual sign-up bonus, Delta gives you an additional $50 statement credit if you make a Delta purchase within your first 3 months of having the card. So in addition to that sign-up bonus, you're getting an extra $50. Just go buy a cheap Delta flight, even if it's in basic economy. That's a pretty easy way to save even more. Now let's talk about some of the actual perks of the card itself. First and foremost is you get your first checked bag for free. Now, if you're someone that flies Delta with any kind of regularity, or even just a couple of times throughout the year, this can be a very valuable perk, because remember, each checked bag on Delta Airlines is going to cost $25, right? So on a round trip flight, this could be $50. And keep in mind, this not only applies to you, but this applies for up to 2 people in your traveling reservation. So if you're traveling with your significant other, if you're traveling with your family, it really can add up quite quickly. So right off the bat, if you're someone who flies with any kind of regularity on Delta, the annual fee could almost be justified in the free checked bag perk alone. Now, the actual earning on the card, I don't think it's anything to write home about. You earn 2 points per dollar spent on Delta flights and then also on restaurants. But at the end of the day, you're earning Delta SkyMiles. So a lot of people will jokingly call them Delta Skypesos, kind of indicating that they're not really all that valuable. I would tend to agree with them, just because Delta has a good tendency to just devalue their points year over year. So I'm really not the biggest fan of the value of SkyMiles. Now, another one of the benefits on the card is going to be priority boarding. This is where essentially on your boarding pass it'll say Sky, and so you'll get to get on the plane after the premium boarding groups. Now, I think this is a pretty cool perk, but for me, I tend to spend almost all of my time in the lounge up until the last minute, so I pretty much never actually make it onto the plane early anyway. So, there's that, but I don't think this is all that valuable of a perk. If you're someone who's always traveling with a carry-on and you find yourself fighting for that overhead space, then maybe this perk will be a little bit more valuable to you. What I think is one of the biggest benefits of the Delta SkyMiles card is you have the ability, once you have the card, to do something called Pay with Miles. And what essentially Pay with Miles lets you do is it lets you apply 10,000 points will equal $100. So in that ratio, 10,000 points to $100 towards any Delta ticket. Now, the reason this is super valuable is, let's say you found a really good flight deal and it's on Delta, and the flight is cost $400 and it's between North America and Europe, right? Typically, that ticket would be very expensive if you actually try to book it with award miles. You actually might have to shell out almost 60,000 points or more just to make that trip. Versus if you have the Delta SkyMiles card, what you're able to do is apply 40,000 points and it'll take off $400 of the price of that flight. So that is a really good benefit. Having that additional flexibility, I've used a tremendous amount of times to save a lot of points and also a lot of money on Delta flights. While Delta has now expanded into basic economy, I find this to be really valuable. So if I'm able to find a really cheap flight, maybe for $60 on Delta Airlines, then I can use just 6,000 miles for a one-way flight, which is much cheaper than the standard award fare of $12,500 for a one-way flight within North America. Another perk that I really like about the Delta SkyMiles card is the fact that you get 20% off all of your in-flight purchases. right? So if you're on the plane and you want to grab yourself a beer or a glass of wine, sometimes that 20% off is all you really need to make that purchase in the end. So the last and final benefit that I think is really valuable with the Delta SkyMiles card is the mileage requirement waiver that you get. So for those of you who have been following the Delta loyalty program, quite a while ago they changed it to where in order to get status with Delta, you not only have to do a certain number of flights, but you also have to spend a certain amount of money in the calendar year to get status. The cool thing about the Delta SkyMiles card is once you spend more than $25,000 on the credit card, that revenue requirement goes completely out of the window, right? So I knew I was always someone, I would fly Delta Airlines, and this was very frustrating for me because I would fly a tremendous amount of flights, I would fly all the time, and I would do a lot of miles with Delta. So I was doing a lot of segments, I was doing a lot of miles, but because I didn't spend enough money on the flights because they were so cheap, I never actually was able to earn the really high tier statuses. Once you have the credit card, if you can just put $25,000 on the card, then you're gonna be able to completely have that revenue requirement bypassed. So, just a quick recap, reasons that I really like the Delta SkyMiles credit card is because the sign-up bonus tends to be pretty good, $50,000 plus that $50 statement credit. I think that's a really easy big win. The free checked bags I think is very valuable, especially now with basic economy not including any kind of checked bags and their normal Delta economy not including any checked bags. I think that is a big win. And then also because of the revenue requirement waiver that you get for actually having the Delta SkyMiles card, and then most importantly, the ability to pay with miles in that fixed ratio of 10,000 points to $100. If you like that video, please give us a thumbs up. If you have any questions, feel free to put them down in the comment section below. And then if you like and want to see more helpful content into the future, I would highly recommend that you subscribe to our channel. Thanks so much and have an awesome day.